So translation, as I told you in last class, so if you have to see the translation difference between this translation of eukaryote and prokaryote. So what is the basic principally what are the difference between any process between eukaryote and prokaryote? From this replication to translation, fundamental differences are the two fundamental difference. Tell me, what are these fundamental difference?
Is it that eukaryotic is usually more complex?
Okay, complex and sophisticated. Complex and sophisticated. Okay, more complex and more. And then second,
Prokaryotes are simple. Then another one would be
slower.
Okay, so
eukaryotes are slower. Rate of polymerization generally is slower. So you can say sophisticated and slower. So and what is the ultimate result? Less error. Okay. In eukaryotes. So this is the main two difference you use, sophistication and slower. Eukaryotic is slower and sophisticated. So here you can see based on these two principles you can see sophisticated. So number one differences you can see this difference you can see the start codon always is code for methionine, both in methionine, both in bacteria and eukaryotes. But in bacteria the methionine is N-formylated methionine. So methionine is, this is methionine. If you can see, this is this amino acid is, this is methionine, this will be methionine. Okay, but this methionine will have this nitrous amino acid. So methionine is an amino acid, and here you will see in bacteria this N group will have a formyl group. Formyl means this group. This is N-formyl. N-formyl methionine. So did you understand? So bacteria will have methionine but N-formylated methionine. That is the one difference. Start tRNA, start codon will have N-formyl, and this is the basis. This is the basis between eukaryote and prokaryote, and this N-formyl methionated protein. N-formyl methionated protein can be recognized by our immune cells. So this actually helps our immune cells to differentiate between bacterial protein and eukaryotic protein. This is one of the important clue that our immune cells, that our body recognize bacterial protein. So this is one of them. Now second difference, one difference in start tRNA, second difference you will see in ribosome. You already know ribosome 80S and 70S, more sophisticated ribosome, more protein and longer this rRNA, smaller number of protein, smaller rRNA. So less, this again sophistication, difference is sophistication. Now here again you can see mRNA difference. So eukaryotic mRNA is more sophisticated, it has got very tail and then cap. So cap, tail, and there is splicing is present in eukaryote. So sophistication again. And then prokaryotic is multicistronic. I have not written here. Prokaryotic mRNA is multicistronic without this. This is monocistronic, multicistronic. These are the differences between mRNA. This is multicistronic, prokaryotic, and without a splicing, capping. Here is monocistronic, splicing, capping tail. Now this rate of transcription in prokaryote is, as I told you, slower in eukaryotes, 10 times slower. So 20 amino per second, and here 2 amino acids per second. Now you can see because bacteria does not have, it has only one compartment. Now in the same compartment there is DNA. There is DNA, okay? In the same compartment the bacteria has DNA. From this DNA you will see RNA will be synthesized. As soon as RNA is synthesized, what will happen is this ribosome will bind here. Ribosome will bind here. And what happens is then this ribosome will do protein synthesis. So protein synthesis channel will be in longer chain, longer protein synthesis. Did you understand?
Yeah.
So this is called, this phenomenon is called, at the same time you can see transcription and translation plus translation happening at the same time, and that is why this is called co-transcriptional translation. Okay, co-transcriptional translation. This is not possible in human being or other eukaryotes. Why? Because human being has this cell, inside cell human being has nucleus. In that nucleus there is synthesis of, there is DNA, and there will be synthesis of what? mRNA, and this mRNA will have to come out of the cell, and this mRNA come out of the cell after splicing. Then only there will be assembly of this ribosome, and then there will be protein synthesis. So there will be protein synthesis. Did you understand? That is why it is not possible here. Did you understand this difference? So this is, you can see here. So you can see co-transcriptional translation happens in bacteria, not in eukaryote. In eukaryote there is transportation of mRNA from nucleus to cytosol. Now differences in initiation, there are these two. Actually these two are very more differences in initiation step. So initiation step is very much different. Other steps are somewhat very similar, but these initiation steps are very different in both eukaryote and prokaryote. So we will talk about that initiation steps. So you can see this is polycistronic. This is a polycistronic bacterial mRNA, and you can see this is electron micrograph. So here you can see multiple of this this ribosome. This is, you can see mRNA. This is DNA. This is mRNA. mRNA bound with ribosomes, and this ribosome, multiple ribosome will produce protein. So you can see mRNA synthesis here. mRNA synthesis happens. As soon as synthesis will happen, ribosome will bind and does protein synthesis. So this is how you can see co-transcriptional translation occurs in bacteria, not in eukaryote. So tRNA, let's see the structure of tRNA. We have already seen the structure of tRNA. I will go very fast. So you can see the tRNA structure. This is about like 80 nucleotide long. Okay, 80 nucleotide long. And then you can see many bases are modified. About 50 different types of bases are modified bases are there. And you know the modified bases. Thymine is present in tRNA. Dihydrouridine is present in tRNA. Pseudouridine is present in tRNA. So these are the modified bases that you will see. Inosine is present in tRNA. These are the very important modified bases that you see being present in tRNA. So you can say that is based on this modified basis. The name is given D loop, DHU loop, dihydrouridine loop, T-cythymine and pseudouridine and cytosine loop, T-cy-C loop. And then inosine is present in anticodon here. We can see inosine is present in anticodon region. So this is how, this is the structure. This is clover leaf. I've told you in the beginning only. This is clover leaf is like this leaf. This leaf is like this. So three-dimensional structure a little bit different, and it will actually three-dimensional structure will look like a L-shaped. So this is the same structure. You can see extra loop is also there. You can see extra loop is present in between anticodon and T-cy-C loop. So this is acceptor R. Here amino acid will bind. So if you count from this will become 34. So you can see this is tRNA. It will look like L shape. Three-dimensional structure is L shape. L shape. So now this is the structure of tRNA in vivo. Actually, real structure is this. So you already know. Now let's tRNA function. You already know it will carry amino acids. And see, we will start from this. So this tRNA, how tRNA binds with amino acid. This is very important. This is the thing I want to talk here. So how does this tRNA? There are 31 tRNA that is present in our body. 31 tRNAs are present in our eukaryotic body that will recognize 61 bases, codons. So this 31 tRNA have only 20 different, actually we have 20 different special type of ligase enzyme. Okay, there are 20, we have 20 different types of ligase enzyme. Ligase enzymes. What does it do? It actually join this amino acid with tRNA. Okay, tRNA, and then after joining, it will convert this amino acid and tRNA. It will actually it will join, amino acid will be joined to tRNA, and then the resultant molecule is amino acyl tRNA, RNA. Now what will be the name of this enzyme? Tell me. Try to amino acid tRNA, then amino acyl tRNA. What would be the name of this enzyme according to you?
Like amino acid ligase.
Anyway, amino acid. You saw, but enzyme name is amino acyl tRNA synthetase. Okay. Amino. This is the with the name, the product of name. The name has been given. Amino acyl tRNA synthetase. I told you there are difference between synthase and synthetase. When we write synthetase, there will be utilization of ATP. So all ligase. Why I have written name ligase? Because all ligase utilize ATP. Here ATP is utilized, and that ATP will convert into AMP. So when it converts into AMP, there is 2 high energy phosphate is being utilized. That is equivalent to 2 high energy phosphate is equivalent to 2 ATP. So you can see, so joining of this amino acid to tRNA is amino acyl tRNA, and this is called active tRNA. Okay, this is called active tRNA. Active tRNA, and this is tRNA. This is called active. So loaded amino acid loaded tRNA is active tRNA. Now this is passive. This is active tRNA. So you can see active amino acid or active tRNA. So amino acid is activated now. When it is loaded on amino acid, this tRNA, it is active tRNA or active amino acid. Active amino acid is also active here. Active amino acid. So you can see this is an active molecule. Amino acyl tRNA is an active molecule. Now this molecule will be helpful for formation of peptide bond. This molecule actually will be helpful for formation of peptide bond. So you can see for synthesis of each peptide bond, you can see being there has to be formation of one tRNA. Okay, there has to be formation of one tRNA, and every tRNA formation require 2 ATP. That means every bond now it require formation of tRNA. So every bond formation require 2 ATP from this reaction. There will be more. We will count that ATP. So from this reaction, you can see each bond formation, peptide bond, actually real peptide bond formation will require only 2 ATP, but there will be orchestration for peptide bond formation. That machinery will require more energy. So here you can see each peptide bond 2 ATP. Now let's see this amino acyl tRNA. There are 20 specific amino acyl tRNA, 20 specific amino acyl tRNA synthetase, amino acyl tRNA synthetase. And this 20 specific amino acyl tRNA, there is one specific amino acyl tRNA that is specific to one amino acid, each amino acid that are specific to each amino acid. So we have 20 amino acid. Each amino acyl tRNA is specific to each amino acid. If you see that way, some amino acyl tRNA had chance to recognize more than one tRNA. Okay, that means more than one tRNA can bind to one amino acid. And some amino acids can have only one tRNA. Why? Because we have 31 tRNA total. So if you see that, so 20 plus 11. So 20 plus 11. So 9. Here you will see, if you see 9 amino acid will have only one tRNA. 11 amino acid will have 2 tRNA here. Did you understand?
Yeah.
And this is specific. This is very specific type of this enzyme. This is a very specific type of 20 different enzymes. These are very specific. That will bind to a particular tRNA only, either 2 tRNA or 1 tRNA, but it will bind to a particular tRNA and it will load to that tRNA a particular amino acid. That is very different. And this is where you see, this is where first you can say this is first proofreading. First proofreading, you will see first proofreading or selectivity will happen. Or selectivity. Did you understand? First proofreading or first selectivity will happen at this place. Specific amino acid to specific tRNA. So this is a very important concept. Now, so these pairs of specific amino acid and tRNA and amino acyl tRNA synthetase are cognate pair. So this tRNA and this amino enzyme plus this tRNA, they are called cognate pair. So this enzyme will recognize a particular tRNA and then add amino acid a particular. These are called cognate pair. This enzyme. No. So several amino acylation reaction is. So figure you will see, figure here we have seen figure. So first step, there are 2 steps for amino acylation. There are 2 steps. So first step you will see, first step and 2 steps. Let's see this 2 steps. First step will be addition of AMP to amino acid. You can see this is first step. So 2 high energy phosphate will be lost here. And then there will be addition of AMP here. This is AMP. Will be added to this carboxy group, of this amino acid. Now after this, what will happen? This will become second step. What will happen? This amino acid will be now transferred to this CA group, acceptor arm. If you can see acceptor arm here, you can see there is CCA. So there is a 3' end, there is OH. To this OH here, this carboxy to carboxy with this carboxy group, it will be attached. amino acid will be attached like this. So T with this tRNA, amino acid attached with this carboxy group. Remember this carboxy group, not with amino group. So amino group is free. Carboxy group to this carboxy group to this 3' end, to this 3' OH, this amino acid is attached. Did you understand these two steps? First step is activation with amino acid. Activation of amino acid. Second step is loading. First step is activation of amino acid and then loading. Okay. Now I told you this amino acid tRNA is the first proofreading step. You will see first proofreading step is this. So we will see further proofreading. That is why this translation is very precise. You can see this amino acid tRNA that is bound to enzyme. Okay, it is bound to enzyme and then amino acid AMP, and this will add amino acid to this 3' end OH, to this OH with carboxy group. Now we can see this. This is prokaryotic ribosome. You can see prokaryotic ribosome. As I have told you, prokaryotic ribosome, I have already explained it. It is made up of 33 plus 5 and 16 only. Only one protein is present in smaller subunit and 2 protein in larger subunit. Whereas in, if you see and you double this, you can see the number of this 2900 means 3000. Here you will see 150 only. Now, if you can see this too, if you compare with prokaryote has 3, 5, 28, then 5, then 5.8. This is 3 RNA is there in prokaryote, and here you will see 18. Yes, RNA. So this is how you will see in eukaryote. Protein 30. You can see the protein number, less protein number. Protein number is 35 in larger subunit and 21, 20 and 30. So in 30S, you can see about 20 proteins and 50S about 30 proteins. Here in larger subunit, here in eukaryote, you can see this 3 rRNA and about 50 protein. You saw in eukaryote about 30 protein. Here you can see 50 protein. In a smaller subunit, you can see 30 protein, and here you can see about in prokaryote about 20. So these are the differences. That is why this is more sophisticated. More RNA, more protein. You don't have to memorize all. Just you have to memorize but rRNA. This 3 rRNA is part of a larger subunit. This is part of smaller subunit. I can ask question from this. Which of the following is part of a smaller subunit? So answer is this. You can say this is RNA. This is ribosome. Ribosome, when it assembles, actually, this is there. This is 80S ribosome of eukaryote or 70S ribosome of prokaryote assembled. So you can see there are 3 sites are there. So you can remember easily this 3 site. A, P, E. Ape. You know this ape. What is ape? So you can easily remember. P is in the between and E is exit side. A for fresh new amino acid will come here. Amino acid tRNA will bind here. So this is called A site, amino acid tRNA binding site. And this is called peptidyl site, peptidyl tRNA. So peptide carrying tRNA will be here. And in the beginning, that start codon will be placed here, and methionine carrying amino acid will be first amino acid tRNA will bind here, and after that the amino acid tRNA will bind here. So this is called peptidyl transferase, peptidyl tRNA binding site. Peptidyl tRNA, this is P, and this is amino acid tRNA, this is exit. So when once mRNA comes here, there is no binding with this codon with tRNA, then tRNA will be become loose, and it will be go out of the ribosome. That is why this is called exit site. When this is a gateway, when this tRNA enters here, it will exit from this. So you can easily remember P site, A site, P site, and E site. A site, P site, and E site. So A is amino acid tRNA, P for peptidyl tRNA, E for exit site. So will you memorize these 3? A, P, E?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you memorize, we will move forward. So we discussed about tRNA. We require for protein synthesis machinery. Machinery is machinery of protein synthesis. Protein synthetic machinery is made up of, you can see machine. This is basically machine. Protein synthetic machinery. Machinery in our body is made up of ribosome. Ribosome plus proteins, main proteins, that is, so rRNA plus protein is ribosome, and then second is you require tRNA, and then third we require is mRNA. So we have already done we already know all these molecules, and we already know ribosome, 3 sites of APE sites of ribosomes. Now let's start translation process. Translation processes start with this. There are 4 stages. One is initiation, elongation, termination. As you have seen these 3 terminology in transcription also. So initiation, elongation, termination, and then recycling. 4 stages are there in translation. So you can see here. So here you will see initiation means assembly. Initiation, as you saw in transcription also, there is assembly of RNA, DNA with protein, that is initiation. Here also you will see assembly of all the machinery, tRNA, mRNA, and small large unit will assemble. This is called initiation. And then initiation, elongation is this growing of this peptide bond. So this is peptide bond formation will happen during elongation. Peptide bond formation will happen during elongation. Now termination, so removal of this protein from this machinery is termination. Termination is done by recognition of this stop codon, not by tRNA, rather by a protein, that is called release factor. So you will see this protein will bind here with a stop codon, then termination will happen. After termination, this ribosomes, this machinery will again be recycled. So this is called recycling. So recycle, and then again it will bind some other RNA. So this is how this actually process. Ribosome will be utilized, ribosome and tRNA, these are utilized again and again. Okay, so this is the processes in cycle, you will see. Now let's start with the initiation stage. So initiation in bacteria and eukaryote is different. So how is it different? Initiation in bacteria and eukaryote and prokaryote are different. So what happens in bacteria? There is a, let's say this, there is a sequence here. This is called Shine-Dalgarno sequence. So sequence that is present in this mRNA. This sequence is present in bacterial mRNA. This is a polypurine sequence. This is called what? Polypurine sequence. Polypurine sequence. Can you see polypurine sequence? So this polypurine sequence will bind with this polypurine sequence that is present in mRNA. You can see this is mRNA here. Can you see this is mRNA? This is polypurine sequence. You can GGG, A and GGG. So you can remember GAG, double G, A, double G. It's GAG, double G and GAG. This is GAG sequence, a GAG sequence. So a GAG sequence is present here. It will bind to this ribosome, a small ribosomal unit. This is small ribosomal unit. There is RNA inside small ribosome. This is 16S RNA. You know the 16S RNA is present in a smaller subunit. So that RNA has a complementary sequence to this polypyrimidine sequence. That will actually form hydrogen bond, and that is how this mRNA will bind to this smaller subunit. Did you understand this? This is what is Shine-Dalgarno sequence. It is present in mRNA, not in rRNA. Did you understand what is Shine-Dalgarno sequence? This is consensus sequence. This same sequence present in all mRNA of prokaryote. Okay? Did you understand this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now Because of this, what will happen? There will be AUG sequence will be exposed to P site. A, P, and E. This is E site. P site. This start codon will be exposed to this P site. So let's see this. What happens then next? What happens in prokaryotes? So what will happen after this? After this mRNA, you will see this is recycled. So after first, what happens? First, what will happen is this smaller subunits. There are a bunch of initiation factor. This initiation factor is called IF. So there are 3 initiation factor. Easy to remember. 1, 2, 3. So 1 initiation factor 1, initiation factor 2, initiation factor 3. So you can see 3 is for E. So this initiation factor 3 will bind to site E, and 1 for first letter A. So you can see initiation factor 1 will bind to A. So why does this bind? Because this start tRNA, the first tRNA should not bind this 2 site. This prevent this N-formyl methionine tRNA to bind this site, this and this site. It will guide this tRNA here only, at P site only. After it forms this assembly of this initiation 2 initiation factor here, and this initiation factor 1 will bind to initiation factor 2, and this 2 initiation factor 2 actually, once it binds to initiation factor 1, what it will do? It will attract this tRNA, N-formyl tRNA here. So it will attract N-formyl tRNA, and this N-formyl tRNA will only able to bind this start codon, because when other tRNA comes, other tRNA will not make a base pairing, and then it will shed off. It will not come here. So this is a second step. You can see, and this is a second base pairing of codon anticodon is second stage of in proofreading. So this is second stage in proofreading. So you can see 2 will, when once this tRNA comes here, and this is a protein that carry GTP. Once this protein is this tRNA attaches here, so there is conformation change in this protein, and this protein has got this initiation factor has got GTPase activity. It will convert conformation change in this 2 initiation factor 2 will convert this GTP inside of this protein into GDP. Because of this, what will happen? This protein change, conformation will change, and this protein will dissociate. Here you can see initiation factor 2 will dissociate later along with all this factor. So after this all factor will dissociate, then what will happen is this larger unit will assemble. So recognize the sequence. First initiation factor 1, 3 will bind, then 2 will bind, then tRNA will bind. After tRNA, then after this mRNA will come and bind to this Dalgarno sequence, then tRNA will. At first mRNA will bind, then tRNA will bind with this because of this. So this is the whole sequence of initiation. By recognition, this start with recognition of this mRNA with signed Dalgarno sequence, plus it will be initiated by initiation factor. This will be occupied. First initiation factor 1, 2 will come like this, and then mRNA will bind here with signed Dalgarno sequence, and mRNA tRNA, first protein, then mRNA tRNA will bind. So conformation change into, so it will be all initiation factor will be dissociated, and then this will form 70. Now larger complex will come and bind. This initiation factor, this 3 will actually function of this is to avoid binding of this larger factor. Once this factor, initiation factor, this 3 goes shed off, then larger factor will bind. So this initiation factors, first it will bind to E site, so that this tRNA will not bind to E site, and second it prevents this larger subunit binding to this, the time binding to this. So after this all assembly happens to this smaller subunit, function of this initiation factor 3 is done, then initiation factor 3 is dissociated and larger factor will come and bind. Now protein translation will begin. So did you understand? Now see the difference between initiation factor. You can see there are more protein in eukaryote. Can you see more protein in eukaryotes? Initiation factors are there in eukaryotes. So this is very quite confusing. You can see, but you don't have to confuse. You can see this. So you can see here. So 1 and 3 both will be recognized by 1, 1, and in between 2 will for 2. So 1, 1, and then 2. So initiation factor 1 will be recognized by 1A and 3 will by 1. And this there is eukaryotic initiation factor 5 will help both. 2 will be held by 5B. How will you remember this 5B comes with 2? 2 is the B is the second letter in alphabet. So you can easily remember this 5 helps 2 and 1, but 5B will help this. And this both are G proteins. As you have seen, this is G protein, means GTP binding protein are called G protein. The same here, factor 2 is G protein. Here, this is G protein, factor 2 is G protein. Here, both are G proteins. And this actually help, this G protein help attachment of tRNA and larger subunit. So assembly of tRNA, assembly of larger subunit will be helped by this. And this is a third, this is a very important type of factor that will actually bind cap and tail part of, because eukaryotic mRNA has cap and tail, and that is why eukaryotic initiation factor 4 F will bind. It is a multi-subunit protein. It has got many subunits. You can see AGE. You can remember this subunit by BAGE, bag, BAGE, bag, and E, big, like. So these 4 subunit protein subunits are present here. So in prokaryote you have seen Shine-Dalgarno sequence. Here you will see scanning of protein will happen. So scan, this mRNA will scan. So this is small tRNA and small actually ribosome, and mRNA come with this cap and bind here and scan this and scan the AUG site. Initiation, wherever it fits with the tRNA, then it will stay and then protein translation begins. So scanning is the property in eukaryotic. The basic difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic initiation is here you will see it begins with the binding of this Shine-Dalgarno sequence. This begins with the scanning. This is the basic difference, most basic difference between this. And eukaryotic initiation factor 3 here comes big factor that will actually inhibit assembly. Here also inhibit the assembly of larger and smaller subunit. What happens actually, what you have to remember, you will see here the factor 3 does 2 functions. Factor 3 does 2 functions. Here factor 2 also does two functions. Here it does, first it occupy E site, and second it will actually inhibit the binding of larger unit, 2 functions. Here also this 2 will do 2 functions. First actually it will help in assembly of this tRNA, and second it will also help in assembly of larger subunit. Here you can see larger subunit also. So two job. But in eukaryote this 2 job will be taken up by different protein. That is why it seems complicated. But if you see in that function wise, you can see here. That is why you can see here in place of this eukaryotic 3 there will be more than 2 proteins. This and this proteins. And here you can see more than 2 proteins. So let's begin with the eukaryotic. So you can see here eukaryote, as I've told you, A site will be occupied by this A1, and B site will be occupied by, E site will be occupied by this 1, and 1 will be held by 5. This will be held by this 5. This here 2 will be, sorry, just remember this 1 will be occupied 1 way, and E will be occupied by 1, 5. So now this is the first, and this this factor 3, this is a big protein that will actually inhibit the assembly of larger unit, and this actually also help in disassembly of this both ribosome. Now you can see this tRNA will first come here. In prokaryote, this mRNA and tRNA come together like this. You can see in prokaryote here. mRNA comes when base pair with signed Dalgarno sequence and tRNA comes. But here you will see tRNA comes first, and then with tRNA, then there will be scanning. So this 5 eukaryotic initiation factor 5 eukaryotic initiation factor 4F is equal to 4B, 4A, 4G, 4E. So you can see B, A, G, E, B, A, G, E. You can see B, A, G, E. This will come here and bind this cap. E will bind cap, and this will bind this whole sequence. Now this sequence will, what will happen? This will actually bind with this whole protein, will bind with a smaller subunit, and this protein will scan. This actually will scan this smaller subunit of RNA, scan like this, like scan, and once this start codon come here, boom. So there will be base pairing, and this ribosome RNA, sorry, mRNA, when it binds with tRNA, then this whole scanning process stops, and then assembly of this with this larger subunit begin. So scanning in eukaryote and binding with signed Dalgarno sequence is the basic difference. Now this is Kozak consensus sequence. So this Kozak consensus sequence is present, actually Kozak, with this Kozak consensus sequence protein binds here. This is for protein binding. There signed Dalgarno is for interaction with smaller subunit. Here Kozak consensus. To this Kozak consensus sequence, this 4 eukaryotic initiation factor 4F will bind, and actually it will help in scanning. So did you know the difference between this prokaryotic and eukaryotic? Main difference is scanning versus signed Dalgarno sequence interaction with smaller subunit. Did you understand the basic difference? Two basic difference. Tell me. Yes. Okay. Now you can see here. There what happens? There are one protein only. So here you can see there. This is 2 eukaryotic initiation factor 2. This will help binding tRNA. And second protein, it is not shown here. This is called 5B, eukaryotic initiation factor 5B. It will help in assembly of larger unit. So it is not shown here. You can see this is how the whole this subunit assembly will happen. Scanning will happen, then assembly happens, and then start will happen. So scanning and signed Dalgarno sequence binding is the, and this is called, this is 43S. When it bind with tRNA here, this is called 43S subunit. When this tRNA binds with this mRNA, this is called 48S. So first 43, then 48S pre-initiation complex is formed, and then larger subunit will bind to this. So this, you will just remember this basic difference between eukaryotic and prokaryote. So this is you can see this eukaryote will have a circular type of mRNA, and this G protein will bind to tail region, as well as this cap, it will also bind to the tail region. This is how this elongation will happen. You can see elongation will be facilitated by these two processes, two elongation factor. What will happen is, first you see this. So when this is a growing chain, this codon, and then what will happen is at this A site, one amino acyl tRNA will come, but amino acyl tRNA cannot bind it with alone, but it will be helped by this elongation factor. Elongation factor is called 2, elongation factor. You can remember 2G. So that is how you can remember elongation factor. So elongation factor is bound to this tRNA. So elongation factor bound tRNA, amino acyl tRNA will bind to this A site, and as soon as the base pairing, correct base pairing happens, it will be removed. If correct base pairing is not there, so it will not remove. This whole will go off. So this is I told you, this is second like proofreading. That is why very specific amino acid chain will elongate. Now after this, what will happen? So there will be established. Once base pairing happens, this will go up. So GTP will convert into GDP and will go up. So you saw there was utilization of GTP. Here is utilization of GTP. These are for regulation, orchestration, not for bond formation. Now what will happen? There will be formation of bond between these two amino acid. So once this will be transferred to this. So when this is transferred to this, you can see this process here. So this is happening. So once this is transferred to this, so there will be second factor. This is actually like this, and then this should be like this. Okay, this should be like this. This is arrow is wrong. So with this, after this, what will happen? There is peptide bond. So this peptide bond will be transferred to this. So this will move a little bit. This tRNA will move a little bit. You can see move this tilted tRNA. So both tRNA will be tilted because of shifting of this peptide bond. And because of tilting, there will be space formation. And this space formation will be occupied by some other elongation factor. This elongation factor will bind. It's called G to G. So G will come here, and this elongation factor will push this tRNA, push to this P side. So this will push like this. This will come here like this, and then will push like this, So it will push. So 2G, initial elongation factor 2G will help this formation of peptide bond, shifting of this peptidyl tRNA from A to this. Now this cycle goes on. So this cycle again. After this, so this is to show cycle. So again, this cycle goes on like this. So this is the elongation. Two elongation factors are required, 2 and G. This is elongation part, both in bacteria and eukaryote are similar. Here in eukaryote, we call in place of 2, we call elongation factor 1 and elongation factor 2. That's it. But the process and proteins are very similar. So this and peptidyl transferase is done by ribosome. How it is done? So you can see. So this is amino group will attack this bond. This is carboxy terminal. After binding this, amino group will attach, and then this peptide will be shifted to this. Now this will again shift to peptide bond. So this will, the process cycle will goes on and on. You can see like this. Can you see? See this carefully. Can you see the process? Again, let's see this process. Now stop codon come here, and then it will be stopped. So this is how termination happens, by binding of this stop codon with termination factor, release factor. So these are the release factors. So release in bacteria, release factor 1, 2, 3 are there, and this 1 will recognize UAG and UAA, and this 2 will 1, and then 1 for A and A. You can remember that UAG and UAA, and 2 will come, and 2 will recognize UGA. So these are 3 are stop codon will be recognized by this release factor 1 and 2, and this release factor 3 will cause release of 1 or 2. Once they are bound, they will actually cause release of this, and then after release there will be disassembly. Now you can see this. Once stop codon comes, this release factor. So this is a very similar to this release factors are very in structure. They are very similar to tRNA, amino acid tRNA. They are very similar to amino acid tRNA. Now this will bind here, and this has a very specific type of protein. That's chopping type of knife is there. So this is GGQ region, and this is amino acid glycine, and this is glycine, and Q4 glutamine. So this region is there. This region will do hydrolytic cleavage. So there are two functions of this release factor. This release factor, there are two functions of release factor, 1 and 2. One is binding with this stop codon. Second is hydrolytic cleavage of peptide bond. So peptide bond will be released. Now this 1 or 2 will be bound. This 1 or 2 will be removed by third factor. This is called release factor 3. This protein will be released by other protein. So this is called release factor 3. It will come and release. And these all are, if you can see, these all are G protein. These all are G protein. So it requires GTP. So you can see how many GTP, you can calculate later how many GTP is utilized for formation of one bond. So once protein is formed, then only it will come. So elongation requires that 2 GTP. So you can remember 4 high energy bond is phosphate bond is required for synthesis of single peptide bond. Now you can see in eukaryote, this is also termination is also very similar. Just is that in place of this 2 protein, there is only 1 protein in eukaryote. This is called release factor 1. That's it. That is the difference. Otherwise, there is no such difference. So you now ribosomal release factor will cause dissociation, and disassembly will happen. Again, after disassembly, there will be fresh initiation. So this is fresh. This is the difference. This is the 3 processes, and this are the antibiotics. You can go and read yourself. So these are the antibiotics that inhibits protein synthesis. So did you all understand this 4 process: initiation, elongation, termination, and recycling? Where peptide bond formation happens in all these 4 processes? At which step? Tell me. Which of the following step? In which of the following? Peptide bond elongation. Yes, peptide bond formation happens during elongation, and peptide bond formation is done by ribozyme. So ribosome will help in peptide bond. You do understand this whole process?
Yeah.
How many ATP is required for peptide bond synthesis? You can see 2G. 2G. Both are elongation factor GTPase. And then 2 ATP required in the initiation phase. So how many ATP for peptide bond? 4 ATP. Okay. For peptide bond formation. Tell me.
Oh, is that 4 ATP? Yeah.
Yes.